Hi, I'm Diana Sullivan. I'm posting some sample lessons from my beginning machine knitting course. Check out this lesson and then consider getting all 35 lessons either on 2 DVDs or on a USB flash drive. Doing these lessons can really jumpstart your skills and your confidence. Click on the link for this course as well as all my patterns and products. This is a very common cast-on that is used in a lot of published patterns, and it's very popular among knitters. It makes a nice stretchy edge, but it will not unravel on the cast-on edge. To do this cast-on, select the needles for the width you need and pull them all the way towards you. Now in my situation, my carriage is on the right hand side of the needles. I'm going to start on the left hand side and work toward the right, casting on. I begin by making a slip knot in the yarn and putting it on the first needle. Now alternatively, I could just hang a clothespin on the yarn and wrap it around the first needle. Now this is called the E-wrap because the yarn is going to form longhand E's, very much like handwriting, wrapping around each of the needles. So I've wrapped around the first couple of needles. Let me get in really close with the shot so that you can see that better. What I'm going to do is take the yarn, bring it to the left on the top of the needle, and then come over the next needle over. I let go of the yarn each time and let the upper tension unit pull the yarn up gently. That gives me perfect tension for my E-wrap. If the upper tension unit begins to bow down toward the knitting, I can just take the yarn and pull a little bit of slack down so that it isn't too tight coming from above. Now I continue to wrap this on over toward the carriage side. After I have wrapped the last needle, I like to make sure that the thread is pushed all the way back toward these little bumps, which we call the gate pegs. And then I can put a comb on the knitting. I will just try to center it compared to the width of my knitting and just hang it on all those loops of yarn. The comb will help keep things from getting tangled. I'm also going to hang one claw weight on the comb just to pull down a little bit. Now I'm going to thread the yarn into the carriage. So I will take the carriage presser plate and I will open it so that I can put the yarn in the yarn feeder. I will bring that yarn all the way back and close the feeder. Now I expect the first row of the knitting to be a little bit harder of a push than subsequent rows. So I push across and that knits my first row of the knitting and completes my cast on. Now I'm going to knit a few rows and make a good size sample so that I can show you the sample in front of the camera. Here's my finished sample. As you practice this, note that the purl side, usually the wrong side of the knitting, is facing me, and the right side of the knitting is facing the knitting table. Just like I did with the open cast-on sample, I'm going to take the knitting off the machine by just cutting the yarn, putting my hand on the knitting so I can catch it, and knitting across one row. It will drop all the knitting. Now I'm going to take it off the comb and show you this cast on. The machine does tend to pull the knitting wide. So look how much the knitting shrank when I pulled it off. And I'll just give it a tug vertically, set the stitches a little, and I'm turning it over. I'm going to poke the raw edge on the gate pegs and zoom in and show you what this cast on looks like when it's done properly. So here is that cast on edge, and it's stretchy, it's a nice tidy edge, and of course it does tend to roll. Knitting tends to roll. It tends to roll toward the right side horizontally, and then it tends to roll toward the back on either side. But that's just the characteristic of the knitted stitch. Hand knitting has the same issue if it's in plain stockinette stitch. So that is your E-wrap cast on. If you like the sample lesson, consider getting the whole course, which is available at www.dianaknits.com. And did you know I have hundreds of machine knitting videos on YouTube? Check out my channel, Diana Knits, and subscribe. I also have a blog and a Facebook group. These are all free resources to help you on your machine knitting journey.